Okay, hello and welcome everybody to the Asian Communications Network LinkedIn Live Brief. You can also be tuning in from some of our other platforms. And this is real talk, real stories with no other than Sheeraz Gulsher, our patron saint for diversity in the PR industry. We all adore you and we are very, very pleased that you are with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, a little bit about Sheeraz for those people who've been living under a rock and don't know who he is. He is the co-founder of People Like Us, and it's an award-winning non-profit dedicated to breaking down barriers for ethnically diverse professionals. He has done a lot of work with the People Like Us team. You co-founded it with your brother, right?
That's right.
And they've done a lot of research, a lot of advocacy campaigns, consultancy events, and done a lot of work around pay transparency and campaigns for the introduction of the ethnicity pay gap reporting legislation in the UK. And it's been extraordinary. I mean, I've seen billboards and an incredible poetry and just the level of creativity that you bring to a campaign like the ethnicity pay gap is extraordinary, let alone, the impact that you are delivering and the real world outcomes. Now, Sheeraz, how did you first hear about our world, the Asian Communications Network?
So I first came across the ACN through an article on the BBC, actually, in 2024, after the awful racist riots. And I spotted this piece, and it just gave me a lot of hope about a group of people coming together. And it was just what we needed at the time, sort of bringing people together from all communities and supporting them, really. And it really resonated with me. And then you and I had met at awards night, and it was awesome. And I attended my first ACN event. It was a really special dinner evening, and got to meet lots of the fabulous members, lots of incredible journalists. And we had a brilliant night talking about actually what can we do to tangibly make our industries and make our community feel supported. And since then I was hooked.
Fantastic. And Sheeraz, tell me about why you decided to partner with the Asian Communications Network, because People Like Us, they do amazing events. I mean, I've been coming to the events for a while. It's one per quarter, and it is so vibrant, and the tickets just go like that. And I think there's so many people that say it's easier to get a ticket for Glastonbury, and so you'll very kindly allocate tickets for Asian Communication Network members, which we're really grateful about. You've always been championing the Asian Comms Network, but I just wanted to say a big thank you for partnering with us. And also, I wanted you to just tell everyone a bit more about the journey of People Like Us. So when did you set it up? Why did you set it up? Is it what you expected it to be like, the journey? And also, tell us a bit about what your plans are for the future as well.
Sounds good. I suppose the reason we ally ourselves with organizations like the Asian Comms Network and the Black Comms Network, the Taylor Bennett Foundation, is these are groups of incredible leaders that are making genuine change in the industry. And I firmly believe that we'll only do that even more effectively if we're together. I'm always after new people to come to our events so they can experience some of the magic, meet some new people, hear about excellent creative work. And yeah, just be part of the community, really. It's a very friendly and uplifting group of people that are actively looking out for each other. And I think that's in the spirit of what all our organizations do. But yeah. People Like Us started in 2019. I was at a really wonderful PR agency at the time called Pretty Green. And everything was going great for me at that moment in time. I had great media contacts, working with lots of great brands that I've always wanted to. And bringing in great clients. But to be honest, yeah, just feeling dissatisfied with the state of our industries. They're severely underrepresented, and I suppose I just didn't know many other people that looked like you and I. And I remember broaching it with my brother one day on the train station at Luton. We'd going to visit my mum and heading back to London, and sort of just went into a pretty foul-mouthed rant and thought, why don't we do something about it? But let's make it fun. And let's make it tangibly helpful. The events I went to, that I knew about at least at the time, about diversity and inclusion, I didn't find particularly engaging. They were quite samey, and there were the same groups of people on the stage saying the same stuff. We thought, actually, how can we breathe a bit of life into this. And I think there's a lot to be said about community and activism that's just enjoyable. That's something people really look forward to and want to come and support and understand in new and interesting ways. And then yeah, that was the beginning in 2019. And yeah, what's next?
Was it hard, Sheeraz, to start off like this? You know, a lot of people that think about setting up initiatives and platforms. How was it easy to start, but then hard to maintain? I mean, what was the journey like?
That's exactly it. It's, I think, launching something. Our industry, there's lots of incredibly supportive leaders and journalists. Our industry press, I think, are always platform people wanting to make positive change. And I have to credit PR Moment, PR Week, the PRCA, the CIPR. They're always backing and platforming people that want to bring people together. Yeah. And the hard part, as you say, it's keeping up the momentum and the magic. You'll know better than most, behind the scenes, it takes a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah.
Keep doing events, keep doing research and campaigns, and keep people interested in coming back and staying relevant. But yeah, for me, it's a massive privilege to be plugged in and adapting and iterating depending on what's happening societally, whether it's the murder of George Floyd or deep social economic impact on people's pay packets, or horrific geopolitics right now that we're all experiencing with multiple genocides and awful things happening around the world. But it's important that we continue adapting so we're relevant and supporting our communities as best we can. And it takes a hell of a lot of work, to the extent that I had to quit my day job to do this full time. But yeah, it's this privilege of a lifetime for me.
Do you know what I was interested in is that you've obviously been doing these amazing events every quarter, bringing people together, really energetic, very vibrant, people connecting. And what I loved about your events is also had a very practical side. So you'd have a photographer or a career advisor there. And so it was fun, vibrant, lots of connection, lots of inspiration, but also very practical. Now, you then started moving away from just doing the events. You started then adding layers into people like us. And so the ethnicity pay gap, when did you start it? Why did you start it? What's been achieved? And what's down the line for it?
Yeah, so I suppose early on when we set up PLU, we had very firm rules in mind for what we did. One was everything we do, it needed to have some sort of small tangible impact, however small it was, on the lives of people in our community and our industry. And two, it just needed to be fun and engaging. And then really early doors, I suppose the conversation we came back to time and time again was challenges in representation and challenges in pay. And at that point in time, in 2019, we didn't really have any sort of measure on how ethnic minority workers were being represented at the very top levels of organizations in our industries and beyond. So we set up an industry-leading pay gap study in partnership with PR Week, just to investigate gender and ethnicity pay gaps in our industry. And beyond sharing the numbers, participants shared an action plan on what they're doing to help level the playing field, how they're supporting members of staff in reaching more senior positions. And that's been running for 5 years in a row, and that's shown real promise and progress. Gender pay gaps are closed from entrance almost entirely, and the ethnicity pay gap is moving at a slow pace, but it's headed in the right direction. But even that on its own is enough to spark a conversation, spark some meaningful action. But shortly after launching that in year one, we thought, actually, there's a really clear case of making this a national movement and getting more people aware of what the issue is and doing something about it. And ethnicity pay gap reporting has been part of governmental discussions for a very long time, about 8 or 9 years. There hadn't been a huge amount of meaningful movement. So I suppose my co-founder and I are sort of creatives and marketeers at heart. So we thought, actually, how do we get people to care and understand the issue? Because when you think about ethnicity pay gaps, for a lot of people, it can sound a bit abstract and distant. And we thought, let's think about ways to really, build people's awareness firstly, and then encourage some action. Then we came up with a series of sort of campaigns and billboards and PR stunts just to get people talking. And then, generate some interest. And we kind of did, and I'll be honest, a lot of the public affairs type stuff is brand new to me. I didn't really engage with politics much before PLU. I thought watched PMQs and didn't really relate to anyone I'd see, any of the MPs. And I thought not many people really speak for me.
Yeah.
And then I quickly realized, unless you're plugged in and speaking to the right stakeholders, you're not going to make change. You can make a lot of noise, but no actual impact is going to happen. So then it was a quick, steep learning curve. And we borrowed, begged favors with people in the know. And yeah, got to meet lots of incredible people along the way. But all our approach is guided by a massive amount of research.
Yeah.
So you'll see us in the press. We talk about how current affairs are impacting different communities pretty regularly. We do 3 or 4 national research stories at least every year, thanks to census-wide. And yeah, so it's important that our approach is relevant and it's measured. And then yeah, since then we've been to Parliament, spoke to MPs and got some support across parties, and yeah, just been keeping the pressure on in lots of different ways. And it was mentioned in the King's speech a couple of years ago, and then the consultation went live last year with lots of businesses responded. And in just 2 weeks ago, actually, the consultation response was finally published. And it was overwhelmingly positive. So businesses want ethnicity and disability pay gap reporting brought forward. And actually, our most recent campaign I was proud of, we partnered up with leading disability equity charity Scope, because yeah, it was really important. We felt to form an alliance and yeah, bring reporting to the table. And while I think it's brilliant that it's coming, and it's the important thing to note is it's the starting point. Transparency is a great place to start to know where things are at, so you can make a really sensible, coherent and objective action plan to make some change.
I love that. And what I wanted to ask is, from all the research and experience you've had on the ethnicity pay gap, why does it exist? Does it exist because there is sort of bias in the workplace in terms of those people setting salaries? Does it exist because ethnic minorities, we perhaps have internalized racism, or we have a sense of low self-worth and we don't ask for it, or perhaps cultural reasons why we don't ask for pay parity? I mean, what are the reasons that you've seen that has helped you understand why that gap exists? And what is that? I mean, roughly, how much money?
So many of the points you mentioned have hit the nail on the head. It's firstly, there are systemic barriers in place for lots of people. That means often that there is a progression or glass ceiling, that they aren't going through the ranks as quickly as they should or as quickly as their peers are. And that could be in any part of the process, really. Firstly, it could be from hiring. Research from Oxford University showed that people with so-called foreign-sounding names needed to send, on average, more than twice the amount of applications to get a call back for an interview. And that study has been going on for about 3 or 4 decades, and alarmingly, there hasn't been much of a shift. And that research featured in our big campaign last year. And even when you get into the workplace, there are sort of challenges. Our most recent piece of research in partnership with Women in PR showed that especially women of color face barriers and face microaggressions in the workplace, slower barriers, slower pathways to progression, and just all around hostile environment, particularly in the news agenda when you see the rise of far right rhetoric, and particularly with how people are talking about immigrants. That has a real knock-on effect on people's confidence and their self-worth. So yeah, there are sort of stuck at quite a few angles, and we need to try and help remove some of those barriers. And with things like pay gap reporting and transparency in pay, it helps make things a little bit more objective. So with that data, you can see how people are progressing, the rate of progression, and where representation is. Because pay gaps are essentially representation gaps. That's the simplest way to look at it. There aren't enough women or aren't enough ethnic minority professionals at the very top levels.
And what kind of percentages do these gaps kind of show up? And do they vary if it's mid-level, junior, senior?
So in the PR industry, it sits at around 20%, according to the PR Week study. Yes. And according to the PRCA study, it's around 16%. So it's quite a large gap. and even for gender, it's kind of disappointing there's a gap at all, because the majority of the industry are women. So it's kind of staggering that there's a gap at all. So the PR industry has got a huge amount of work to do, but nationally, it really varies by ethnicity. So African and Caribbean workers tend to be lower paid. Pakistani and Bangladeshi workers are also some of the lowest paid in the country. But it's a very nuanced picture when you look at different ethnic heritage and how that correlates with pay. And what we're hoping is when pay gap reporting is brought in, we can kind of get a much better understanding of how large businesses are paying staff from different ethnic backgrounds.
I think you raise a really interesting point that we sometimes don't know how much we're shaped by what we read and consume in the news, and how it can have an impact upon our own self-worth, which can then have an impact upon actually there being, less in our bank account. So it's really interesting how you connect all those dots into something like the ethnicity pay gap. I totally agree. And I think that looking at the sort of some of the rhetoric that exists in certain parts of the media and with certain politicians, the harm it does is actually quite far-reaching. And I think it's also important for us to be aware of that, and kind of have and have our sort of guardrails up, that actually through osmosis you can pick up these messages, and it can then just undermine your self-confidence, your self-worth, and then that can manifest itself in not asking for what the value is of the work that you're doing. So I think that's that kind of being conscious of that, I think, is a really good first step. What other advice would you give to ethnic minorities in the PR industry, from what you've seen over the years of running, people like us? What tips would you give for people who want to love this industry, want to stay in the industry, they want to thrive, they want to flourish? What's your take?
I think the first thing is to say is that you are enough, and you are brilliant, and you aren't alone. And it's really important to know that there are organizations like the ACN, BCN, PLU, Data Bennett, that are there to have their backs, and they should definitely reach out. And two, what served me really well in my career was, I suppose, learning the basics and doing them extremely well. So even to this day, I'll still read the papers, I'll still get in touch with journalists, I'll still go and meet as many people as humanly possible. It was early in my career, an old manager sort of said it, and maybe paraphrasing what she said, but your currency is in your contacts. And it's about going and meeting people, and you never know where people end up. So when you're early in your career and you're pitching stories to a junior reporter, they may end up at a great national or another title, and they'll grow with you. And it's all about being respectful and showing love, and that will always be time well spent. It's just getting to know the media landscape, because it's changing all the time. Even the way we pitch stories from now, since 5 years ago, has changed entirely. It's really difficult to get an answer from news desks, and it's all completely down to personal contacts you have and who you can call upon.
Yeah, you're so right in terms of the black book. For those people who don't have a network, or they're new to a city, or they're a bit shy, introverted, you've built an incredible network of people in the industry who, be it from PR agencies to in-house to, to other sort of charitable initiatives, as well as, the trade media. What tips can you give to people who want to build comparative networks when they perhaps don't live maybe in the city where all of these kind of events and meetings take place, and or they're a bit shy, like you've done it so well? What can you teach the rest of us?
Yeah, I like to just keep it human and keep it real. There was a period of time where I moved to Birmingham to do a master's in 2018, having worked in London for years and years. I didn't know any local media, so I emailed a bunch of people from the Birmingham Mail, BBC Birmingham, BBC West Mids, the Asian Network, and said, would you meet me for coffee, or would you meet me for a drink? I'd love to talk to you a little bit about some of the work we're doing, and just hear about what you're up to. And he kind of walked in asking questions, because I'm just a curious person, love to know what people are up to, what the newsroom looks like, how they like to hear about stories. and also just about them, because that fundamentally they are human beings that, do you know what I mean, have their own things and lives going on. They're not just their job. They're not just someone you can get coverage from. But taking an interest in people, and as a result of that, I've made some lifelong friends, and people who I would have, no doubt, first time I'd have met them would have pitched them a random PR story, and yeah, just treat them as human beings, really. And I know some people that are not based in London, it may be slightly harder, but it's kind of working out where the journalists based that are near you, or influencers, or industry commentators, or trade press, because I guarantee there will be some near you, and just dropping them a line and keeping it short and sweet, and say, love to take you for coffee. Will you come meet with me? And more often than not, people are really up for it.
I love that. So it's basically not be transactional, not look to get immediate value from that new connection, be curious, learn about them, and also, you know, knowing you as I do, Sheeraz, you're very generous as a person as well. So it's very much like, what can you give seems to be your kind of mantra, as opposed to what can you get. And I think that in itself kind of builds that currency of goodwill that then, you know, ends up sort of like smoothing your path, and people probably step up and say, you know, Sheeraz, I want to help you, and, you know, rather than you even having to ask. So I can see that happening. Now, you're going to be going off very soon to the glamorous Cannes Lions. I've never been before. Can you tell me about what Cannes Lions is all about for those of us who have never been? Is it important that, you know, people should go? What's the benefits? And what are people like us going to be doing in Cannes Lions? I know you were there last year. Some friends of mine told me about going to your incredible events. But yeah, tell us about this glamorous world of Cannes Lions.
Yeah, so I'm fairly brand new to it. So last year was the first time we went, and it was a very last minute plan where the FT sort of approached us and said, because we held an event with them in London in March last year, which was really good fun, and it was really loved. And then yeah, they were like, should we do the same thing in Cannes? And we thought, hell yeah, let's do it. And essentially, is one of the, if not the world's biggest festival of creativity for advertising, marketing, PR. And it's takes place after the film festival. And it's, I suppose the way I describe it, it's like one big like area of like stalls, and where you can meet brands, magazines, journalists, agencies.
Is it like a festival, like a villa?
Pretty much. So you get people that sort of set up shop on the beach. People hire villas. And it's just a great sort of opportunity to connect and get to know people. And there's so much you can do ahead of time. So what every organization or magazine or brand will do is publish their events. And there's a massive spreadsheet on the sort of Cannes website that does the rounds. So you can see everything that's happening on the ground. And there's two ways you can do it. So you can get a Cannes pass, which gives you access to all the workshops and all that sort of stuff inside the Palais. It's not something I did personally. Or you can do, I think they call it the Fringe. So people that are doing events outside. And that's how I did it last year. And you can do it pretty cheap, in all honesty. It's you can, like, there's places you can find on booking.com or Airbnb or whatever. And a flight. And
imagine you can book early. Like, when is it happening? When is it in June or May?
So it starts from the 19th of June, I think, 19th or 20th of June. It runs for about a week. So some people come early and hang out and make some meetings. But yeah, so this year we're doing another event. And we're excited to announce it next week. So we'll be back in action, and we'll be looking for new speakers. So please keep an eye out if you know anyone, or if you yourself would want to talk. I'd love to hear from the viewers. But it'll be really fun, and it's a great celebration of excellent work at the world's biggest platform for creativity. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was worthwhile. I kind of went in with very limited planning, went in with an open mind, and people are very friendly in my experience. And if anyone gets stuck while they're out there, they can always give me a shout.
Fantastic. I love that. Now, before I start winding this down, I've got a few more questions for you, Sheeraz. Other than people like us, what else can you tell us about your world?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I suppose I just love ordinary things. I love reading. I'm reading Pachinko at the moment, which has been, yeah, really, really powerful. I've just been on a big run recently. Read The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga just last week, and I powered through that. I love martial arts. Some
Are
people.
you a traditional reader, or do you do the whole audiobooks?
Oh no, no, I need a physical book. I
Okay.
can't
Okay.
absorb
That's kind of right
information.
code, and that's nice.
Yeah. And I also love collecting them. So I've got big piles and piles of books I read at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love martial arts. I'm a big fan of boxing, mixed martial arts. I used to box as a teenager, and it really sort of changed my life in a really, really good way.
Is
And
boxing quite good to get your aggression out?
yeah, I suppose it teaches you like discipline,
Yeah.
and it's the training isn't easy,
Yeah.
but you get a hell of a lot out of it. As a teenager, I was quite an angry kid.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I mean, I was going through a rough patch at school, like everyone does.
Yeah.
And then I fell into boxing, and it honestly transformed my life.
Okay.
So I
So it's a
recommend,
marathon, reading, boxing.
yeah.
Do you ever just chill?
You know what? This Easter break, I did. I
Yeah.
was at the point of pretty much burnout, and I sort of completely had hit a wall. And I spent some days just doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm guilty, like a lot of people probably listening, and of working far too much.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice just to take a moment to just be,
Yeah.
and not be productive, and not be, do you know what I mean, doing things or research or whatever. Because I think you can't be at your best if you're always on, and it's nice to just switch off for a bit.
That's
So
that's a really good message, I think, for our community, because we've seen our parents, often our parents were first generation, and they've had to juggle quite a lot, work to establish themselves. And therefore, we probably didn't have the role models of work-life balance, because I don't know, my parents were like both workaholics. And so I think that's a really good message. What would you say are the signs of burnout that you then realize, okay, aha, that's when, we need to pull back?
I mean, for me, I suppose just feeling low in energy and quite down about things. I'm
Yeah.
typically a pretty happy-go-lucky, half glass half full kind of person,
Yeah.
and it's just sort of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I found myself last week just feeling waves of, man, I've had a good night's sleep, and I still woke up feeling exhausted.
Yeah.
It's
So that's lethargy that just follows you even when you wake up.
I think so, and just a lack of sort of satisfaction in what I was doing. I felt a bit numb to it all.
Yeah.
So and it needed. And I spoke to a friend of mine, and they suggested actually you need some nature, like leave your phone at home, leave your laptop, and just go, go like walk, touch some grass, and hang out with some trees. They
Yeah.
sent me this study by these Japanese researchers around they call it, I think it's called forest bathing.
Oh, yeah, I love that term.
Yeah, and it's just being with nature, and it's like our minds are not geared towards, you know, I mean, staring at screens all day and always being on. And I suppose being a version of yourself that's professional and online, it is very tiring.
Yeah.
So it's taking that time to just ground yourself and be with your loved ones, and just do shit that you enjoy. Like I've been playing video games again recently. So yeah,
That's
I'd recommend the new Resident Evil. It's very good.
Oh gosh, no. Well, I think that's great advice. I love the idea of forest bathing as well. I tried to get my daughter into it. She's a teenager. I think she prefers Selfridges bathing, and but
That
that's quite,
works too.
yeah, I mean, that's quite fun and uplifting. But yeah, lovely message to end on. Look after your energy levels, people. Even people like Sheeraz takes breaks. He's juggling so much, but the importance of filling up your energy reservoir so that you can back in the ring, so to speak. Just a massive, massive thank you, Sheeraz. And also thank you to our commenters. We've got Vishni, who says, I love People Like Us events and had the honor of speaking at one, a memorable event. And Vita Patel as well talks about, thank you for all the work you and Doreen are doing. It's making a huge, huge difference. And then finally, Hassan Salim Patel, looking forward to this discussion between Sheeraz and Fazana. So lovely love coming in from the community. Thank you again, Sheeraz, for everything that you and your brother and those who support you, women in PR, for instance, PR Week, all of these incredible partners that you've had that have helped you. We've also got a last message from Sayali. Awesome stories and insights. Thank you for the great conversation. So sending you lots of love, lots of light, and thank you for being you.
Thank you, Fasana. Big love to the ACM.